need them. Yes, we do. We need strategies for living, that is. So are you ready? Are you ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
What does it mean to be ready?
Oh, you're going to get philosophical on us today, huh?
I think I'm pretty ready.
Yeah, I think you stay ready. I really do.
I do try.
Hey, folks, welcome into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for Living. I'm Dr. David McMillan, and she is the ever-ready psychotherapist. She is PLPC Leon McMillan.
That's right.
And let me ask a question,
okay.
Lauren.
All right.
Can four horsemen, count them, four, can four horsemen predict the end of a relationship?
I think I know where you're going with this one.
Yeah, I bet you do, because we talk about Dr. John Gottman on this program a lot.
Deadly Horsemen.
He is Dr. Gottman, Dr. John Gottman. Dr. John and Julie Gottman are both renowned couples therapists. And they have identified four key behaviors that can predict divorce or breakup. And they're known as the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And they're so destructive. They are absolutely so destructive to a relationship that they were named after the biblical four horsemen of the apocalypse, right?
Right.
And so they and you know, there's no we're not going to hide these. We're going to talk about them today. We're going to reveal them today and kind of look at them, because if you understand these four behaviors, and then you understand how to stay away from. Well, number one, how to identify them when they show up.
Right.
In your relationship.
And then the antidote, so to speak, right?
We are definitely going to talk about
the
strategy. Dr. Gottman gives an antidote for each one of them, but another word would be strategies.
Right.
So the four that we're going to talk about, and we'll unpack them today: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And being able to recognize the patterns early can help couples be proactive and take proactive steps to address them and to improve their relationships. And so that's what this is all about. You know,
I was sort of teasing in the beginning, but you know where ride comes from? Where ready. Sorry, I think I gave it away.
Yeah.
Where the word ready comes from.
Well, it comes from, I would predict that it comes from ride.
Yeah, it's the root word. It means to ride. So are you ready?
That's interesting.
Isn't that's pretty powerful and impactful, I think.
In and of itself. So we are going to talk about the four deadly horsemen of the apocalypse, not the ones in the Bible, but the ones that you might be riding in your own relationship. And if they are, you need to be able to identify them. And the good news is there are strategies. There are ways that you can present antidotes to them. And we'll talk about all of that today. Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living. We're brought to you by the Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners and Learning RX and Pintail Roofing and Hempress Cannabis with Love and the Shreveport Little Theater. Be right back to talk about the four deadly horsemen here on Strategies. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you'll hear about it, too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it, too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea is convenient. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com. And welcome into 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. Thank you for being with us today here on Strategies for Living. We're talking about the 4 deadly horsemen of the apocalypse. Oh, are you?
I'm letting them in.
Yeah, I
I'm
see
taking
that.
them around the ring.
I see that. Okay, so the 4 horsemen is simply a metaphor for 4 very harmful behaviors that escalate relationship conflicts and cause damage, actual damage to the relationship. So you want to be able to identify these, and you want to be able to know how to stop them. Here's the deal, Lauren, and we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
You know, all relationships have conflict.
Absolutely.
Even very successful relationships.
I'd say especially those.
Especially all relationships. It's not the, you know, sometimes through the years people would come in and say, we're here for therapy, but we don't ever fight. As it turned out, you know, more often than not, those were the couples that had the serious problems.
That's more dangerous than anything.
Yeah, when a couple came in and they were fighting like cats and dogs.
At least you have somewhere to start.
You had some place.
Communication
Exactly.
happening.
So conflict is normal. Relationships do not fail because of conflict.
No, and I'd say, in fact, conflict, when it is done in a healthy way, is actually a way to bring couples and people, no matter what, if it's romantic or not, it is designed to bring us closer together.
Absolutely. It certainly has the possibility of doing that.
Right.
And especially if you learn things like the 4 horsemen and how to... what the antidotes for each one of the horsemen are.
The ability to cultivate a safe place for conflict.
Yep. Then you're on the right track. So relationships don't fail because of conflict. They fail due to couples not knowing how to manage conflicts well.
Yeah.
And I really can't say it any better than that. And we have to tip the hat to the work of Doctors John and Julie Gottman, because through the years, they've really done phenomenal their body of work that's available to everybody. And all you really have to do, folks, is and before the end of the program, we'll give a couple of their book titles.
Right.
But if you just go on Amazon and type in Dr. John Gottman.
And it's not psychobabble, right?
It's practical.
Practical, bringing it into your home. Anyone can read it and deeply benefit from it.
Absolutely. So Gottman identified 4 horsemen of harmful relationship communications, and they are criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. This goes all the way back into the 80s. Dr. John Gottman started the Gottman Institute, and he and Dr. Julie Gottman put together what they called a love lab.
Yep.
And what they did in the love lab is they observed how couples interacted and approached conflict. And it was a long-term study, and a lot of couples participated in this. And during that study, Gottman separated the couples into 2 groups. He called one group the masters of relationships. The other group he called the disasters of relationships. Okay. And the disasters of relationships, out of those couples, out of those disasters of relationship, he was able to identify 4 behaviors in common, and he labeled these the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
You know, I was lucky, and I'm very thankful that I had this experience as early as I did. In my undergraduate class,
Right.
I was introduced to Gottman and the 4 Horsemen.
Right.
And I'll never forget watching the quick clip of them and the situation, and him explaining that he could watch a couple for 90 seconds, right? And in that 90 seconds, predict the stability long term of their relationship within, like, it was a 90 to 95%.
Yeah, and he conducted, he built on his research, and by about 1999 or 2000, he said he could predict divorce with 90% accuracy.
Yeah, that's the
based
number.
on just about 3 minutes of a conversation.
yeah.
When if he could observe a couple for 3 minutes or so, and what he noticed was that couples who started their conflict conversation with criticism and elicited defensiveness in their partner.
And he calls that a harsh startup.
Yep.
Quite accurately,
Yep.
right?
And that those couples ended up divorcing versus couples who would start and use a gentle startup and began their conversations expressing their feelings and needs. And so over the years, Dr. John and Julie Gottman's work, they've really contributed a fantastic amount. And so much more that the four horsemen that we're talking about today are a part of their work.
Right.
But when you look at the total body of their work, there's so many things that are helpful.
And yet, just knowing this alone, I mean, we just talked about the stats, right? He could listen for 30 minutes and know within 90% accuracy of, the long-term health of the relationship. And all he was doing was looking for these four horsemen, which you will now be armed with.
Yep. And you can see it, and again, you can see it within your relationships. And if you'll continue to listen to the program this evening, you're going to be able to identify the horsemen, and you're also
what to do when you find them.
You're going to have some antidotes, So that's what we're going to try to accomplish today on strategies. So let's start with criticism.
All right.
A lot of
Please
couples, a lot of couples begin to discuss conflicts or subjects with what, and you mentioned this, the harsh startup. Dr. Gottman was able to identify the harsh startup, and that's just harsh startup is just another way to say criticism.
Right.
For example, you are so selfish and you only care about yourself. That's a harsh way to begin a discussion.
And I'll give you kind of a secret on this. Most often, the harsh startup is going to start with you, the word you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we do this because it's easier to show how smart we are by pointing out the flaws of our partner rather than to express how we feel. We've got to kind of go a little deeper to say how we feel and say what we need in the relationship. And you're absolutely right. If you start with you,
you're in trouble.
Put a red flag up in your mind. And think about backing up and maybe how can I start this with I
and
instead
preferably
of you?
I feel.
Yes.
Most preferably.
Now, it takes effort. It takes effort to think about how we actually feel in order to express our feelings to our partner. And, it takes courage. It takes courage actually to be vulnerable. So,
and it takes a little more time and effort and thinking to get to the bottom of, wow, I just criticized my partner. Where, because there's usually an underlying need or feeling that I'm having that is springboarding off of that to create the criticism, right?
Right. So, if you walk into the kitchen, and you say something like, this kitchen is disgusting.
You never help me. You're so lazy, right?
You are such a slob. That's criticism.
Right. And underneath that, perhaps, this might be just an example, but yours might be different, but I would venture to say underneath that is a sense of overwhelm, right? And the need to I need some help. I would like some help.
Yeah, well, it's, again, underneath that is, and the way that you could do a soft startup in a case like that is, again, the key is to start with I.
Yeah.
I feel so frustrated when our counters are,
Messy
so
or
messy
dirty.
and
Yeah.
busy, and we don't wipe them down, and the sink is full. And, what can we do to tackle this evening? Now, does that sound different from...
And how much more likely are you going to be to get your partner's help, right, in that,
yeah.
rather than being criticized?
Exactly. So the antidote to criticism is a soft startup. So, when we use criticism, it's usually because there's some unmet need, and we complain because we're missing something. So before we do the complaining to our partners, let's identify what our need is and why the situation bothers us, so we can express the need with a soft startup that starts the conversation with I instead of you, right?
Right. Yeah. So, instead of you always forget to call when you're going to be late.
Yep.
And that's so irresponsible and rude, right?
Yep.
What's the unmet need there?
The unmet need is, I guess, worry and concern for your partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the refrain would be, I feel worried, right? When you don't call to let me know you'll be late.
Mm-hmm.
Can you, how can we fix this? Can you try to call me next time?
Yeah. You're always on your phone during dinner. And you're so rude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've heard the softer version of this.
You have.
Yeah.
I'm raising my hand. Yes.
The softer version of that
a
would
little
be
more passive.
I miss I love our conversations over dinner.
Right.
Can we agree to put our phones down and enjoy each other?
Yeah, or this time is important to me because it's a time in the day when we are together and can really have that quality time.
Right. So criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. Those are the 4 deadly horsemen of the apocalypse. And we are learning about them today. Nay, we are learning not only about them, we're also learning how to solve them, how to ride.
Well.
Yeah, there you
Ride
go.
them away.
That's today here on Strategies for Living. Much more to learn, much more to come. Stay where you are. It's been going on for 101 years now. I'm talking about the Shreveport Little Theater. Been enriching our lives through the performing arts and education and opportunities to volunteer service guided by professional artists. They've been at it a long time. And up next, beautiful, the Carole King musical is the summer musical this year. And have you seen the 24-25 season? My goodness. Neil Simon's Brighton Beach memoirs, Steel Magnolias, It's a Wonderful Life, Doubt, I Love You, You're Perfect Now, Change, and then May We All, a new country musical. You need to get your season tickets right now. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. It is American theater at its best at 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport. Shreveport Little Theater. ShreveportLittleTheater.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. And Lauren and David talking about the 4 deadly horsemen of the apocalypse in relationships today. We've talked about criticism. And criticism often leads, Lauren, to the next horseman, and that's defensiveness. Because when you feel attacked, what do you need? It's just a normal thing. Oh, I got to defend.
You put up your shields.
Yeah, I wish people could see on the radio what I'm doing right now as I'm talking to you. My hands are in front of, I'm putting my hands up because just even the word, attack, and the hands go up. It's just a natural human thing. So again, it's about being able to stay present and stay aware. Imagine a conversation, what a conversation looks like between a couple who is criticizing and defensive.
Yeah.
You know, you got one partner attacking.
Sounds like a battle.
Yeah, you got one partner criticizing, you got attacking, criticizing, attacking, criticizing.
Well, I guess since we're on horse, it's more like a jousting.
Yeah. So what happens? I mean, you know, while one partner is becoming defensive, the other one's, criticizing, and in that scenario, nothing happens.
And no one wins.
Neither
wins. One of them.
Well, and you can't engage in a dialogue with our partners if we're angry. So how can we take a break, and how can we ask for a break if that's needed in the midst of an argument? It can take some practice, but it's very possible.
Yeah.
It's not one of those things that, again, it's kind of human to get defensive, but we can learn something different.
That's not what I said. I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
So, what is defensiveness? I mean, when we get into a defensive posture, we're really kind of getting into that victim place, right?
Yeah, it's a denial of responsibility.
Yeah. And, some people, have a hard time with this, and I realize that. But in truth, there are no victims. And that doesn't mean that bad things don't happen. It's just that we don't have to stay there.
No, and we get to choose. We always, always, always get to choose how we respond to situations.
Right.
And that power cannot be taken away. You can pretend to give it away.
Yeah.
We often do.
Yeah. So in a defensive posture, I kind of get into the victim mode. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to reverse the blame, How am I supposed to remember to do everything around here? I get the kids to school. I supervise their homework. I take your mom to the doctor. I clean. Aren't we supposed to be in a 50-50 marriage? Now, what does that make you want to do?
Yeah.
All right. So the antidote to that is accountability. So accept your partner's perspective, apologize for any wrongdoing, and the accountability would be, look, I'm sorry, I totally forgot about this. It's been so busy. Give me 5 minutes to do this, and I'll do my best to I'll do my best not to let this happen again. Yeah.
And I think another key thing with defensiveness for couples is we often get defensive when we perceive a threat, right? And so I think it's important, if you are the person catching yourself becoming defensive or even already in defensive mode, if you can take a step back and just check in and say, I heard that as a threat or as a criticism.
Right.
Is that how you intended it?
Okay, that's
be,
good.
Right?
That's very good.
To check in with what story you're filtering that through, because that is a huge opportunity for healing for both parties.
Absolutely. And you're implying that we are both on the same page in terms of we want a healthy relationship, and we want to make the relationship as healthy as it can be and keep it that way.
Yeah.
So if there's defensiveness, then the antidote is accountability. But the question is, how do you take responsibility for something that you feel you feel that you're not
accountable
you're
for
not
in the
accountable.
first place?
It's not your fault.
Right.
And this is where people have to make a conscious choice, a conscious decision about what you're hearing. So instead of engaging in defensiveness, you may want to decide to validate your partner's feelings and say, okay, I acknowledge that you're feeling this way. Tell me what you need. Okay?
Yeah.
Sometimes we draw the line at, well, I don't understand that feeling. I don't understand how you feel like that. Or you shouldn't feel like that, or something like that. And, how often do we say
you're
feelings
too sensitive or...
Yeah, whatever it is. Feelings aren't right. Feelings aren't wrong. Whatever feeling our partner has expressed is valid. It's
Sure.
it's valid. That's they're sharing what they feel right now. Okay, so it's not a you have to agree or disagree thing. It's a tuning in thing. So how can I validate my partner's feelings and move beyond that? Because under that feeling is some kind of need. Yep.
Absolutely.
And so once you know what that need is under the feelings, then maybe it's easier to take responsibility and to, maybe do sooner.
Recognize how you can help them, either help them meet the need or help them themselves meet the need, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So contempt. This is the third deadly horseman. And, these I don't know necessarily that there's a hierarchy, one being worse than the other.
Right.
But contempt can be like acid, eating away a
relationship. I feel like contempt is one of those ones that it really builds over time. It's almost to me like an escalation of the criticism.
Yeah. So contempt is when a spouse talks down to their partner. So you're speaking from a place of superiority,
Right.
as if I know better. So an example would be something along the lines of
You should know better.
yeah.
Right. Or
In other words,
you aren't good for anything.
yeah. So what you're in fact saying is I'm better than you.
Right.
Now, in Gottman's research,
And this can be sneaky too, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be spoken.
yep.
Contempt can be eye rolling. Contempt can be sarcasm.
Oh, it could be a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Name calling.
Gottman himself concluded that contempt was it was the nuclear. It was the nuclear one.
Okay.
It was the great destroyer of relationships. And they all together, I think Gottman said if he witnessed in a 3-minute engagement watching a couple, if he saw 2 or more, then he knew that couple had a much higher probability of divorce. But he also said that when he identified contempt, that was the greatest destroyer of relationships, and it was the single greatest predictor of divorce and separation out of the 4 deadly horsemen.
I believe it.
Yeah. So, how in the world do we go about, what's the antidote, for contempt? Contempt is using words with an intent
It's
to
condescending.
insult or acting with moral superiority. That's what contempt is. How in the world can we, how could we do something different than that?
Appreciation.
We talk about this a lot.
that so
We usually
much.
use the word gratitude.
Right.
Yeah. But the antidote for contempt is some form of appreciation.
Yeah.
Remembering your partner's positive qualities. And it's instead of you're always with your friends after work, and you need to think about sometimes somebody other than yourself. You're so selfish.
Right.
But I might say, I'm so grateful for how hard you work for the family, and it really shows your commitment and your care. So, and I really want to spend time with you. That
Right,
you
there it
hear
is.
the difference between the two. So basically, the antidote is love. It's talking to your partner with love and admiration,
Right.
which will switch things around. And when you are building a culture of appreciation, you're helping. It helps you and your partner to see how amazing both of you are, and you are. The more you focus on the good qualities, the more good qualities you notice, and vice versa.
Yeah.
the more you focus on their shortcomings, the more of the negative qualities you'll notice.
Yeah. So, like I think something everyone will relate to, right? Instead of, why do you always have to be such a slob, right? It's disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah.
We shift that. If we can shift that to appreciation, it sounds more like, I appreciate it when you help me keep the house clean.
Mm-hmm.
It makes our home feel better and us feel better to me.
We all do better.
Right.
Even the dog.
Right.
Even the dog responds better.
Right.
When our home is clean.
Again, this takes a little more effort because again, you're searching for that need under the contempt. Because in that example, the contempt was, it's your fault, you're so disgusting, the house is gross, right?
Yep.
And the need under that is to have a more organized, clean space.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And to express appreciation for when they do help.
So if contempt is the nuclear one, if it's the one, I mean, we want to be able to identify all of them. But if contempt is the nuclear one, when we come back from break, we'll perhaps be talking about the one that is most prevalent. Again, the four horsemen: criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. So I think I've given it away. I think this one may get more used, and used even more subtly than any of the others. Talking about the four deadly horsemen in relationships today here on Strategies for Living, and we've got more to come, so don't go away. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Jay Merle for Pintail Roofing. Let's talk about quality. When you hire Pintail to build your roof, here's what you can expect. Quality and quality control are the most important concerns for us at Pintail, and you need to know that Pintail stands tall with swift and professional performance on any warranty call. This is our most important policy. And remember, we're your neighbors. We'll be here for you for the long haul. Our family's lived here for over 100 years, and we aren't going anywhere. On the commercial side of Pintail's business, our fluid-applied roofing solutions can save thousands of dollars over conventional commercial roofing options. Call Pintail at 226-ROOF for a free inspection of your home or commercial building. That's 226-7663. Pintail Roofing. What's the condition of your roof?
And welcome back. Welcome back into 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan, talking today about the four deadly horsemen in relationships: criticism, defensiveness, contempt, stonewalling. You know, if you've got two or more of these riding, be careful. Because
tread lightly.
Yeah, and really think about what can I do? What can we do? What can we invite each other to do? To you have some horses running around the house.
Nay,
it's gonna
I have some neighbors.
It's gonna be kind of messy, and you're gonna have some.
Because when there's horses, there's horse poop.
Yeah,
right?
you're gonna have some stuff. You're gonna have some stuff to clean up. I can absolutely promise you that. So this is important stuff we're talking about. Okay. So the fourth horseman is stonewalling. And so stonewalling is just refusing to continue a conversation or continue even an argument with your partner. Sometimes couples believe that avoiding questions or avoiding conflict is better than just arguing, you know?
Right.
But here's the deal.
And this can even show up as, just something like, oh, yeah, yes. No, the short, one word answers, right?
Yeah.
Not willing to engage.
Right. And so you're just wear your partner out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But here's the deal. Not discussing the situation often leads to resentment in relationships. So one partner might even feel rejected or unloved and not cared about.
Well,
And,
because if you're not willing to engage in the tough conversations, that does kind of communicate that I don't care enough about our relationship to heal, to grow together, to figure out a solution together.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Dr. Gottman identified what oftentimes happens to cause stonewalling.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important, Lauren, because he called it flooding.
Mm-hmm.
He said that because an individual gets flooded with emotions, they get too upset to respond, and they prefer not to say anything to maybe avoid, throwing gasoline on the fire, if you will.
Right.
Or I guess fire on the gasoline. either one.
Right.
But they feel that no matter what they say, it's not going to be taken into consideration.
Well, and if and when you are able to become aware that you are flooded, right? That you have so much emotion that you're in that state where you want to hold your tongue so that you don't hurt anyone, right?
Right.
It's way better to communicate that somehow.
Right.
And whether that's, okay, this happened in times of when you're not in conflict and you're able to say, hey, in times of conflict, this happens. And if I, do a timeout signal with my hand, I have to go take a timeout.
Yep.
Right? You can find ways around communicating that way.
Absolutely. And while you're taking the time out,
Yes.
what you need to really understand how to do, and it's the antidote to stonewalling.
Right.
It's self-soothing. So it's taking a break. It's not just taking a break for the sake of taking a break.
No.
It's taking a break to spend time caring for yourself. To
regulate, to come back down.
Yeah.
Because when you are in that fight or flight, that flooded state, your frontal cortex is offline.
Yep.
You cannot engage in constructive communication.
Impossible.
And
right.
so it is appropriate that you don't continue. However, what is needed in that moment is for you to take the time out, step away, and then have coping tools in your back pocket to bring you down into rest or digest, to bring the frontal cortex back online.
Absolutely.
So you can then return and engage in constructive conversation.
Right, because when we're in a calm state, we're able to listen, we're able to hear what our partner is saying, but we're able to listen and we're able to hear with empathy and love. I mean, you love this person, right? So you
Hopefully.
hopefully if you're together, you want to, you want to hear. So again, now one of the things that I think is important is to understand that couples, we all individuals, we get into patterns with these four horsemen, and it gets hard to organize our thoughts when we're angry. So we need to calm down before we start a conversation about a conflict or a conflicted situation. And it takes some practice. It takes practice to change the habit that we might have gotten in.
Yeah, and I would say give yourselves permission to back up, right? Even if after you've spewed criticism, give yourself permission to say, I am so sorry, and then come in with your antidote. Right? Of the gentle startup and of getting to the root of your feelings.
This is a place that marital therapies can sometimes be very, very helpful. If you find yourself stuck and overwhelmed with this, sometimes just a few sessions with a good, couples counselor can really help. And some of the things that they're gonna work on, I mean, we'll kind of give some secrets here.
Okay, sure.
They're
Open the
gonna
vault a little bit.
A good counselor is going to help both of you be more responsive. It's going to help you listen and reflect back and ask questions and actually show interest in what your partner is saying. A good a couples counselor is going to, help you to be attentive, to respond to the simple request, and give your full attention to your partner.
Yes.
Right? Yep. Kindness. Be kind. Be offer praise. Show a little kindness and appreciation and expressions of affirmation. And then the affection. I mean, showing affection. If you show affection through hand holding, rubbing your partner's shoulders, hugging, kissing when you greet each other and part.
Verbal affection as
yeah,
well, right?
I love you.
Right.
Yeah. How many times a day do we say I love you?
Hopefully a lot.
Turn towards each other during times of conflict.
This one is so big.
It is huge because, again, it means you're both on the same page.
Right.
Let's make the problem instead of making each other the problem. Sometimes we just need to give each other some space.
And being able to express that need towards each other and respect the need and have safety in relationships such that we know we're going to come back and settle it.
Absolutely.
Right?
And we have a commitment to each other that, hey, we're going to keep growing. We don't know everything here, but we can continue to work on this together, and we can continue to grow together.
That's right.
So 4 deadly horsemen that can ride in a relationship: criticism, defensiveness, contempt, and stonewalling. Talking about them today here on Strategies for Living. We'll be back. Hey, let's talk about the Robinson Film Center, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. How many times do I say there is no place like Robinson Film Center?
You don't say it enough.
Well, no, I probably don't. And there is no place like the Robinson Film Center. I mean, where do you go to see current movies that you're not going to see anyplace else? Well, Robinson Film Center. Find out what's showing at robinsonfilmcenter.org. And then you've got Abby Singer's Bistro, right? Full-service bistro and bar, second floor of the Robinson.
That's what I can't get enough of.
Oh, man. So, here's what you want to do. You want to join the crowd, join the fun, become a member. You get discounts on movies, you get concession upgrades, you get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. robinsonfilmcenter.org.
Reading begins not in the classroom, but in your child's brain. I'm Donisa Walker with LearningRx Shreveport. If your child struggles to read, maybe he or she has trouble focusing or comprehending, LearningRx Shreveport offers a science solution to reading problems, working one-on-one with your child, targeting his or her reading skills. Today, call LearningRx Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does LearningRx Shreveport.
And welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel, talking about the 4 deadly horsemen in relationships today. Lauren Leon McMillan, David McMillan. Lauren, I promised to recommend a couple of Dr. John Gottman's books.
Right.
And I'm just looking at the list here. It's long. But one of my very favorites is the 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. It's a practical guide. That's one of my favorite ones. Another one is The Relationship Cure. That's another good one. Both of those books are very good summaries.
You can also find a whole lot of information on their website.
Oh, yeah. Do you have the website pulled up?
I believe it is Gottman.com.
Okay.
Gottman.
And if that doesn't turn out to, it is, okay, Gottman.com.
Yes.
That's simple enough. So yeah, they've got a great website and give a lot of information.
And resources as well.
Because that's one of their missions. One of their missions is to improve the world one relationship at a time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. You could apply these not just in romantic relationships.
No,
as
they
well.
they really are applicable for any relationship. I mean, once you learn them, you hear them, in interactions with your kids,
Yep.
interactions with your coworkers. I mean, you begin to tune in, and you don't just improve. I mean, this is the great news.
There's horses everywhere.
Yeah, and you're not, if you improve with your partner, you're not just improving your relationship, your primary relationship, but you really end up, improving every single relationship that you are in.
Yep.
Because, they're applicable to all. So there you go. Thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Folks, thank you. We appreciate you being a part of
Gotta go
Strategies.
put these horses away.
Yeah, go clean that horse stuff up. Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies, and we appreciate our sponsors making it possible, the Robinson Film Center and Azalea Cleaners, and Learning RX, and Pintail Roofing, and Hempress Cannabis with Love, and the Shreveport Little Theater. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call to make, who would you call? And what would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call for PLPC Lauren Leon McMillan. I'm David McMillan. See you next time right here on Strategies for Living.